So, this is, in most respects, a story about some wild dogs. I think. I never really got to find out how wild the wild dogs were. It was Christmas Eve, and I've been skiing. I'm driving back, I'm 17 or 18, and my car breaks down. And I'm in northern New Hampshire. And I realize I'm at the end of this windy, small road, and I'm almost to the T intersection for the slightly bigger road. So I pull over to the shoulder, I'm almost to the stop sign, and I start thinking to myself, what am I going to do? This is before people were carrying cell phones, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and nobody's going by. I said, well, okay, so I got all my stuff, so I get up, I put on the extra sweater, put my coat back on, put my hat up, put my gloves on. All right, man, I'm going to start walking. And as I get out of the car and put my stuff on, I start to imagine the walk ahead of me. And I know that if were I actually driving, where the car's still running, when I got to the stop sign, I would take a right and I'd be headed toward Woodsville, and that's about 6 or 7 miles away. And so I'm imagining this walk, and I'm trying to think, where's the next house? And as I'm imagining, I can't think of it. So I'm starting to get pretty bummed out. And so I'm going slowly, thinking maybe somebody will drive by before I get my gloves all the way on, but nobody does. So I start walking, and I'm about to the stop sign, and it dawns on me, wait, hey, you know, at an intersection you can go right, or you can go left, aha, you know? Brilliant adolescent male mind at work. And so I think about, okay, if I go left, what do I get to? I don't know that way very well, but I'm like, I think I can imagine a house there. I think every time I've been by it's been empty. But I'll try it. So I go left, I go around the corner, and like 100 yards away there's a house. Awesome. And there's smoke coming out of the chimney. Double awesome. And there are like 2 cars in the driveway. Triple awesome. So by the time I get there, so even though it's Christmas Eve, it's like 5 o'clock, it's now dark, and my car's broken down, I'm excited. Right? So I get to the door, I knock on the door, maybe even try to be polite, take my hat off, I knock on the door, and there's this commotion behind the door. Wild animals, I suppose. Actually, I didn't suppose that at first because the woman came to the door and she was very hostile and she looked at me. I started to try and say like, hello. She like shot past me looking over my shoulder trying to figure out like where the hell I came from. Who am I? Like who's with me? Because it's a pretty rural spot and I just kind of popped up out of nowhere. And I said, hi, excuse me, my car broke down. I'm just a humble traveler. And can I use your phone to call the tow truck? And she looked at me like this is the craziest thing anybody's ever asked her. And she thought for a minute. And it wasn't like a good, like, let me think, do I have cookies I can offer him kind of thing. And she said, well, you can't come in because of the dogs. Oh, no, I love dogs. It's all right, no problem. You know, no, you can't come in because of the dogs. But, okay, I get it, really, please. So I don't know what I said, but I tried to be persistent and patient, and I stood there for a while, and eventually she was like, okay, so she closes the door, and she disappears, there's more commotion sounds, and it seems like forever. After a couple minutes, she comes back, she opens the door, and she like steps aside, so I can step in. I step into the living room, and it's pretty dark. And the only lights coming from the television were there 2 14-year-old boys playing video games, and they don't even look at me. Right? And it's one of those rooms, alright, digression, it's one of those rooms that's clearly run by insolent, lazy teenagers who like don't give a crap the fact that they get to sit around the couch and play video games because other people are being nice to them. They're just like F you to everybody just on principle. Anyway, so I'm standing there for a second and she walks away, she comes back, and I'm like, yeah, can I use your phone? Yeah, and she looked at me like this was the first time she'd heard that question. And she's like, oh, it's in the kitchen. That's where I put the dogs. You gotta be kidding me. Like I came in. I tried to be polite, right? I'm just a humble traveler, right? So I'm like, it's okay. Like, I love dogs. It's fine. Right? So I go over the door. She got like a swinging door in the kitchen. And she swings it open a little bit. I can see there's an older, angrier woman sitting at the kitchen table. And I can hear the dog. I still don't get to see him. And she's like, hold on a minute. So she goes into the kitchen, she comes back, and she's got, it's like one of those wall-mounted phones with a handset, and she like sticks it through the kitchen door, and she's like, here. But the dial pad's in the kitchen. And foolishly, I don't have the number of the garage memorized. Right? So I go, do you have a phone book? And then again, it's like everything I ask, like, oh, like you could never see it coming. Right? All of these right? So the number I did have memorized, I knew my dad was at work, so I called my dad at work, and he was like, he laughed at me, because so dads are for, right? And so, but then he did a very nice thing. He called the garage, and he said, you know, go back to your car. I'll call the garage. So I go back to my car, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, it'll be warmer in the car. No, at this point, like an hour has passed. The car's ice cold, and so I'm standing next to the car, and I look, I'm like, oh, right, like this is this nice, tranquil, like meadowy, marshy looking spot where I saw the moose, like, you know, like the summer before or whatever. And you know, so when I think about that night, I've got all these like conflicting memories. So one, it's like a spot I really like. It's really pleasant. On the other hand, wild dogs, right? And I do Christmas Eve, and I'm freezing my butt off, and this crazy lady won't let me in, right? Anyway, so New Year's Eve, 2011, I go skiing in the same spot. I'm driving back. My brothers recently moved to the area. My parents are gone, but my brothers recently moved to the area, and so we're coming up to the stop sign. I'm like, hey, there's the spot that I saw the moose. And there's the spot that I broke down on Christmas Eve. And around the corner is probably still the same crazy lady with the crazy dogs. And now, though, do you know what I see on the corner of that intersection where the stop sign is? It's a house. Right there. And I guarantee you that whoever lives there, they don't have crazy dogs like that.